Hello, everyone who showed up looking for Rich. Well, guess what happened during the intros? Rich popped off the screen. I guess in his house or in the Houston area, there have been some power issues. So we'll hold here while we wait to see if Rich is able to rejoin. I'm Derek. I'm the producer, usually backstage, but right now I'm on stage. Let's see who we have in the chat here. Let me hear you chat while we're waiting on Rich here. Okay, his power went down again. I'll hang out here just to see if he is able to get back up. Give me a minute just to send him a quick message. Because there's a possibility, since this is all Rich's show, that we may need to just postpone this for a later date, even though I know we have a lot of people interested in catching up on Rich's thoughts on Across the Spider-Verse, as well as the new Milestone book that came out this week. So let me see. Hey, Robert, how's it going? Good to hear from you. Um, Let me just ask a few questions. Anybody wants to give me, how many stars would you give to the Across the Spider-Verse movie that came out? I know I had a chance to see it two times so far. Once on my own in IMAX. Had a chance to see it a second time with my family, and I think we have Rich back on. So let me bring him back on. Tomb Raider, how you doing? Here's Rich. All right, Rich,
Um,
let's switch you out.
okay. Hey guys, how y'all doing? Um, Apologies for the technical difficulties. Welcome to the Real Talk with Rich show. It's your boy Rich. I got my man Derek in the background. Appreciate him filling in while I try to get things together. Not sure how long we'll be on here, but there's a storm passing over DFW right now, so um, it is what it is. But I want to do a show tonight, and just want to shout out and salute the whole chat. Want to shout out and salute the BCL and BSF fam. I hope everybody's doing well, and as I like to always say, I'm better than I deserve. And so, with that being said, tonight I want to talk a little bit about the movie Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I wanted to talk about it because I think it was an incredible movie. He said, saw it with my twins last Monday. We'll go again with my daughter this week. Before we get into that, though, I want to shout out to Black Comic Lords and our Facebook group. We are at 13,200 members. That's a lot of members. 13,200 members in our Facebook group. So shout out to everybody that's a part of Black Comic Lords. What we need y'all to do, though, you 13,000 people, is just go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We need to get that number. We need to get our YouTube numbers up. But I want to salute everybody in the whole squad for all their hard work and their efforts making Black Comic Lords on Facebook. Uh, the the awesome site that it is. So shout out to all of you guys for making it happen. Again, uh, Black Comic Lords at 13,000 members. That's nothing to sneeze at. We know that everybody's not everybody's not fam, but it's okay. When you have a lot of people, a wave of people come in, you're gonna get some bad apples, but that's okay. We know how to weed them out, and we have some people on our staff that know how to, put the pan down. So it is what it is. So again, shout out to everybody in Black Comic Lords Facebook group. So with that being said, what's going on, James? With that being said, let's get into Miles Morales. This movie, amazing movie. I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars right off the rip. I've seen it twice. Yes, it was worth the price of admission going back again. So I have to say that it was just an incredible movie. I enjoyed it. It was 2 hours 20 minutes, and I did not get up one time to go get popcorn. So that right there tells you that I was very much enthused and very much into the movie itself. I'm not even a Miles Morales fan, but I thought the movie was so incredible, and I have to give props where props is due. And so I'm going to do something tonight that I thought I would never do as an old head. And I'm going to stop calling Miles Morales Static Jr. I'm going to give him the respect that I'm sure Marvel and all Miles Morales fans want him to have. And I will just call him Miles Morales. So no more Static Jr. from your boy. I might have to bite my tongue, but I'm going to try to stand by that. But yeah, so shout out to Miles Morales. But anyway, we just talking real quick about the animation. The animation on this was incredible. Sony Animation, they did their thing. Shout out to Sony, first of all. Shout out to Sony for being petty. For the first like 30 seconds, Sony had to remind you that you're watching a Sony movie, right? You know, they just kept putting it out there. First thing you saw on the screen was Sony. And then you saw Sony again, and then you saw the little glitch, and you kept seeing Sony. For the first 15 seconds of the movie, they had to let us know that we were watching a movie. And then they put up there in association with Marvel. I don't think people know how much shade that was, but that tells me one thing, that Sony has no interest in giving the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man, and all those characters back to Marvel. So we're going to probably get a few more Sony movies before it's over. But again, like I said, great movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. The animation was terrific. The aesthetic was amazing. Spider-Gwen's universe with the watercolors, I thought was beautiful. I enjoyed that. The art in Miles's universe was flavorful and full of color and just magic. I just really, really enjoyed it. The animation worked real well in this film, and and I'll be honest, what makes you want to go watch something else? You know what I'm saying? If it ain't on this level, I'm just saying, if it ain't on this level of animation, why would you even bother to watch it? DC, I'm talking to you. I'm gonna need you to move up. I always have love for DC and their animation, but they kind of upped the ante with this one. So the animation was great. Our eyes were not bored in this film at all. Our eyes were treated to delicacies all throughout this film. Whether we're talking about the vulture and its throwback style of, the feathers, and I mean, it was just incredible. I enjoyed the animation. And so, again, shout out to Sony and shout out to the spider in India, Pav. Pav had to me, Pav had one of the most important lines in the movie. And that was when he was showing everybody around India. And he made the comment that, yes, this is the place that the British stole all our stuff. That's the thought I just said to myself, wow, that's a bar. So yeah, shout out to the Spider-Man India. I might have to go get that Funko Pop just on that GP alone. Just on that GP alone. That's right. Keep everybody honest. But yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed this film. And the animation, like I said, was incredible. I enjoyed all the characters in it, but of course, I had my favorites. But let's talk about what this movie is. This film, in my mind, and this is just Richard's opinion, this film is about recognition. If I had to give it just one word, what is the word that encompasses this whole film? It is the word recognition. And this starts with Gwen. Gwen Stacy, has this big major crush on Miles Morales. We know Miles has one on her, right? But this relationship is a bit one-sided. Gwen is ambitious, and we get that from the very beginning because she's kind of going through something, and then she quits her band, right? She quits the band and she kind of goes off by her business or whatever. And she's just into herself and that kind of thing. And that's kind of who Gwen is, whether we want to admit that much or not. But the problem is Gwen really does like Miles, but she wants her cake and wants to eat it too. So when she gets the opportunity to traverse through the multiverse, she does. But there's a cost that's involved. And that cost is like, well, we're going to bring you on staff, but we really got to deal with this situation going on in the multiverse. It just happens to be in Miles Morales' universe, okay, which is Spot, okay? And the reason why I say this relationship is one-sided is because Gwen can't tell Miles what's really going on. And that's kind of unfortunate. So all of you guys out there that just hoping to see Miles and Gwen kiss and all that good stuff, I don't know if you're gonna see that in the next movie. But yeah, she kind of shaded our boy real hard. But it's it's the cost of doing business because she too wants to be recognized. And Jessica Drew, Spider Woman, recruits her to Miguel, Spider-Man 2099. And it's kind of like, okay, we'll roll with this or whatever. But she's like, well, talking about Jessica Drew, she's like, we need help. We can't do this all by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? She's available, blah, blah, blah. She got things going on in her life. This will be a welcome distraction. And it goes kind of okay until Spot shows up on the scene. They got to go handle this situation with Spot. So Gwen Stacy is kind of like, well, oh, okay, well, since I'm in the neighborhood, let me go holler at my boy, right? So that's what she does. And they have this, they catch up, and it looks wonderful and it's great. All the while, Gwen is plotting and planning. It is what it is. Say it ain't so. Now, understand something, right? That again, like I said, this is about recognition. And Miles wants to be recognized. Miles, he just wants to be a part of the Spider-Verse. And he just wants to be acknowledged. Because right now he's kind of like the outside. He's outside. He's an aberration. He's a glitch in the Matrix. He's not, the Spider-Man, or he's not supposed to be the Spider-Man that he is. Because the Spider-Man that bit him comes from Universe 42. But all he wants to do is belong. And he makes that painfully clear. But, it's one of those things where they can't tell him why they're really there. They're not there for him. They're there for Spot. And they really want to keep him out of the loop. But because he follows Gwen, to where Spot is and all this stuff, hilarity ensues. And so, it is what it is. He doesn't get the recognition because, again, he's not supposed to exist. And so this whole thing about, is he worthy to be? We hear Spider-Man. We know that. I know that. They know that. But, this whole thing is, well, it was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. And so, let's just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? In the fandom, that's one of the things people argue against Miles, that he's not Spider-Man, that he is Black Spider-Man, and he was, he's woke Spider-Man. But I like how they kind of, pushed your face into it, and you have to deal with it. Not on the quote unquote racial side, but just the thought that, okay, you don't think he's worthy, you don't think that he counts, you don't think that he matters. Well, okay, we're going to just kind of put it out there. Since this is what you fanboys are talking about on the internet, we're just going to put it in the movie and put it in your face, which is what they did. And they did a real good job. Now, here's the thing. Miles just wants to be affirmed. Now, he's affirmed by his parents. He's affirmed by his dad. He's affirmed by his mom. But he needs that affirmation that goes beyond family. It's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, first thing you need is food and shelter, right? Then you need to be safe, right? He's got that. He needs to be loved and he needs to belong. He's got that, right? But when it comes to esteem, he really doesn't have that all the way. Because when you talk about self-esteem or whatever, that's part of that is having status. Part of that is having, recognition and freedom to do what he wants. You know what I'm saying? To be who he is. And he's still trying to, quote unquote, earn that with his family. And with the people that's around it, and with the people in the Spider-Verse. So here's a kid who is not trying to, quote unquote, find himself. He just wants the people to see him as he is. He wants to be seen, which is what every human being wants. Everybody wants to be seen. And so that's all Miles is trying to do here is hey, I'm here. I want to be a part of this. Y'all rock with me. I rock with y'all, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't quite go that way. Again, he's a glitch. In the Matrix, he's not supposed to exist. And so this is what drives this whole story. Now, the thing about Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the last part of that, or the top part of that, is self-actualization. And he's there to a certain degree, but he needs people around him to confirm that point. It's like when you know you're the man, you want people to not only acknowledge it, but say it. You know what I'm saying? Uh, invest in it. And that's all he really wants, which is why it's kind of cold for him to see how all this stuff kind of shook out with Miles, I mean, with Gwen Stacy, with Spider Woman, and all the Spider-Man, and Peter, of all people. But that's kind of what happened to our guy. Now, another person that needs recognition is Spot. Now, this is where this is where Miles falls short, because all Spot wants is for Miles to recognize who he is and that he's responsible for him. Now, he can deny that responsibility, right? But the question then becomes, will you at least acknowledge him? But no, he doesn't even do that. He calls him the villain of the week. You know, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a compliment. It's kind of a backhanded compliment. So, you know, again, all of these characters are looking for some recognition. And you know, do they get it? Some of them do, some of them don't. But the thing is, when we look at our guy Miles, how he navigates through all of this, how is he going to handle, you know, this situation? Because it's everybody versus Miles. Matter of fact, probably need to go get a shirt with that on. Miles versus everybody. Because that's what this movie is in a nutshell. You know what I'm saying? Even though it seems like, you know, he's got people rocking with him, the truth be told, they weren't all alone. And that's kind of hard, man. That's kind of hard. So now Miguel is another guy that needs to be recognized, needs recognition. Because Miguel is a good guy, has to do bad things. Miguel just wants to protect the Spider-Verse. He just wants to protect the multiverse. So he sees Miles as a threat. And because he sees Miles as a threat, he has to shut Miles down. Miles is not having it. And no matter what side of the fence you stand on, you know, if you're going to work in leadership or anything like leadership, you got to know that at some point, you're going to have to make the hard call on certain things. Miguel has to make the hard call when it comes to Miles. Everybody wants Miles to kind of be, to get his way or to be a part and all that. Miguel is like, no, I interrupted a canon event and this is what happened. And, you know, because Miles saved the guy in the Indian universe, the Spider Indians universe, that there's a threat that universe may be eliminated. And so that's part of the fallout of Miles being around, because Miles wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to save the guy. It is what it is. Now, the question you can ask, all of us can ask ourselves, what will we do? What would we do what Miles do? My dad's in danger of dying or whatever. I'm trying to get home. It is what it is. But Miguel's not necessarily a bad guy. He's just portrayed as one because he has the task of stopping Miles. And it just doesn't seem fair. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, and that's the thing about being in charge. Everybody wants to gavel until it's time to slam the gavel on the little platform. Because, you know, a lot of times you're not going to make the popular decision. It is what it is. So I don't envy Miguel's position, and I don't envy Miles' position either. But, you know, I know if it was me talking about Miles, I'm trying to get to my pops. If it was Miguel, I'm trying to stop it. I think that's the intriguing thing about this story, is that you can see both sides. And the writing on this particular movie was just incredible, I think. So that's that. H&H says, the best writing pits two points of view that are equally valid against each other. This was great writing. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have that situation where, you know, these characters are trying to, you know, find what side they're on. Well, let's talk about a guy that ain't picked no sides, and that's Spider-Punk. Spider-Punk, is an anarchist. He looks cool, right? He got the attitude, right? People like him, right? I have never seen so many Spider-Punk fans in my life now. But, you know, he's been out there for a little while. But I mean, he's a likable character. But what makes him likable is that he's raging against the machine. And so the question becomes, why is he likable? Well, aesthetically, he looks cool. And Miles, when he took his mask off and said, "How are you so cool without the mask? How are you even cool without the mask?" That kind of thing. He's approachable. He has this dreads and whatever you want to call them, fro. I mean, it's all over the place. It looks nice. It's cool. He says it's a metaphor for capitalism. Yeah, that's when the spot when everything was sinking into the ground. Yeah, and that's true. He really is uh, I would say a quintessential. That's not a word, but he is somebody that's anti-establishment, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's the person that wants to disturb the machine. And here's the reason. Here's the thing about Spider-Punk. Spider-Punk embraces everybody, and the reason why he embraces everybody is because he recognizes that everybody is a part or is a cog in the machine, and everybody needs to be free from the machine. And that's what makes him cool or whatever. But the problem with that is that it's cool to say that, but it's another thing to do that. Everybody can't rock like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't do what he does, which is the reason why even the whole punk scene so different. I mean, we talk about the without getting into music or whatever, but the punk scene has always been filled with black people. And it's something that doesn't get talked about a lot. Like a lot of music that we're quote unquote not known for. A lot of all of these groups, like whether you talk about the Ramones, they got their influences from black rockers. But that's another story. But yeah, he's a likable character. I dug him. He was not my favorite character. He's like my second favorite character. My favorite character in the movie, of course, was Miles. But he's like right there, number two. And I just really enjoy him. He says about what was said about Spot, villain of the week. Also sounds like things said by some fans who didn't think Spot was a good choice as a main villain. Right. I think though, funny thing is, it looked like he was a joke in the beginning. Of course, it was hilarious. They fighting in the bodega, and it just looked silly. But the thing about Spot, and I didn't really hit on this. Well, I did. Spot just wants to be acknowledged. Spot wants to just be, look, I'm here, Miles, because of you. I need you to understand that. I need you to respect that. But now that he's traveled, he's able to just hop from place to place. He's going to make it for a formidable villain in the next movie. And so I'm looking forward to it. I like the dude. I think that, he's a fun villain. I mean, I think your villains don't always have to be diabolical. I think we're going to get the diabolical stuff from the the Miles Morales in Universe 42, which is the Prowler. I think he looks like he's going to be the diabolical one. Sierra says black punk rockers aren't talked about as much until now. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. There are documentaries that you guys can go look online about black punk rockers. They've been out there. They've been out there. And again, I think he's a dope character. He hadn't gotten a lot of shine. Cody Ziegler did a 5-issue mini recently on Spider Punk, which is pretty cool. It's different. You know what I'm saying? And I just like this guy's glow up as far as bringing him into the the multiverse or into the main universe. I don't know if he shows up, quote unquote, live action or along with Miles. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I like this animation for him in it. I think he's dope. So without going too deep into everything, because there's a lot that goes on in this movie, I want to bring up something about at the end of the movie, there's a part where, of course, he goes to Universe 42, and it's where he meets his uncle, or that universe's his uncle in that universe, right? He goes there, and the thing is that Miles is carrying a lot of guilt, and I think one of the reasons that's imperative for this particular the way they did it at the end was he's got to confront who he is. If he's going to move forward or whatever, he's got to face those demons. Because here's the thing about Miles's uncle. Miles's father did not want Miles to be like his uncle. Okay? Now you have a situation where he sees his uncle, but he comes face to face with himself as the problem, which is what his uncle was in his universe. So it's kind of like a kind of like a switcheroo on him, or so to speak. There's some irony there that the very thing that you were hung up, or your hang-ups were all rooted in this person, but they really were all inside of you the whole time. And it was something that his father kept kind of like in the first movie was like, Miles, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And in this movie, it was kind of frustrating watching Miles and his father talk, because his father was like, I just don't want him to blow it. Of course, he doesn't know that that's Miles, but he was, in talking about him, his son, he was like, man, I just don't want him to blow it, because he sees so much of his uncle in him. I don't know if people picked up on that, but that's kind of what it was. I can relate to that myself personally, because I have an uncle that I was very, very, I had what they call the cool uncle, the uncle that, listened to Jimi Hendrix and listened to Parliament Funkadelic. He lived a rocker's lifestyle, so to speak. He was a rock star to me. And, one of the things that my family did not want for me was that same thing. So I can identify, I can kind of relate to Miles in that regard. And for Miles, it's like, okay, if I'm going to move forward, then I got to face my demons. And that's the thing about the Spider-Man lore that's key, is if you go back and watch Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, there's a scene where he's talking to Uncle Ben, and it's almost like a dream. I guess it's a dream. And he was saying, I got to let you go. I can't live my life through you or for you anymore. I gotta be my own man. I gotta be Spider-Man. And I think this is something similar that's happening with Miles. It's very layered. It's very, very layered. It's very, very complex. This is not just a regular story, guys. This is some deep stuff going on in this movie. Behind the scenes, shout out to you, bro. Thank you for the $5 super chat. With great powers comes great responsibility. Web it up, fellas. Absolutely.
Donation. It's a donation. I thought it was the trash. Don't be hitting on me.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you behind the scenes. Appreciate you, Dion. But yeah, it's a lot of deep stuff going on in this film. This is not just you watch this film and just kind of see it. You can enjoy it from a surface level, but there's some deeper things going on that's woven into this story if you really look at it. I've seen it twice, and so I've seen there were things I pulled out it the second time I saw it that I didn't notice it at first, because I think I was just too excited about watching this dope animation. The animation had me caught up at the first time I saw it. Second time I was able to really listen and kind of peep some things out. So, but when it comes to Miles going forward, a lot of times we can't move forward as individuals until we face certain things, particularly our fears and our guilt. If you are afraid of something, I'll just use school as an analogy. If you're taking every class except statistics because you're not good at mathematics or whatever, that's a problem, because at some point you got to face it. And so I think with Miles, he's having to face it if he's going to go forward. Because if you remember, it was his uncle that told him when he was dying in his arms to move forward. Well, he can't move forward because he's got to face, himself in the Prowler. So that's going to be interesting how they do that in the next movie. So I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to this next film. It's amazing. That was an amazing film. So, but what are your guys' thoughts about the movie, man? What did you guys pick out of it? But that was just some of the things I wanted to just hit on in regards to Miles Morales, across the Spider-Verse. There's a lot of stuff. Literally I could do an hour review. I'm not going to do that. We ain't got that much time. And I just wanted to just hit on a few things I thought were key in terms of this movie. It was a great story. They told a great story. They gave us some dope animation. Yeah. So that's what's up. Shout out to all of the Miles Morales fans out there. He said the build up at the end was very unexpected. Yeah, I gotta say, man, when I saw the to be continued, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Miles Morales guy. I did not know that there was going to be a third part to this movie. I hadn't heard. I hadn't really been looking for the news on about the movie or whatever. But yeah, so this movie was for the comic book fans, and I love it. Yeah, and it was a great film. It was a great film. And you know what's funny? That a lot of the people that have been poo-pooing Miles Morales as a character, they have been very, very quiet about this movie. Because I think that you have to give credit where credit is due. They did that. Shout out to Sony. They did that. And the writers, everybody that was involved, and I'm gonna just go out here and say this, and because I was talking to I think Derek and Paul, and I know a lot of people want to see Miles Morales live action. I tell you what, give me this. He ain't got to go live action. Jay Chan says the writers confirmed that dialogue Miguel told Miles he was a mistake was for representation of all the gatekeeping fans that would never accept him for various reasons, including skin color. Yeah, that's what's up. I mean, to me, it's obvious. It was kind of obvious. When Miles Morales was first created, I didn't have a beef with Miles Morales. Now, like I said, going back, I was a static guy. I'm an old head, okay? And when I saw Miles, I saw static. I was like, dude is getting static's shine. That's how I felt, but over the years, it's been over 10 years, he's coming to his own as a character. They need to give him a rogues gallery that's worthy of that quote unquote mantle that he carries. And if they do a little bit more with him, with his rogues gallery, he's gonna be fine. Frustrated says I was a little taken aback by the focus of his Latino side, but when the focus was on his black side, it came off like this is what he would be if he wasn't grounded in his Latino background. I mean, look, I won't debate that. I will just simply say that, Afro Latino people, they've been around since the beginning of time. It's, I don't, his biracial quote unquote identity, whatever, he's black, his nationality may be one thing, but at the end of the day, he's a black man. He's a black man living in Brooklyn. And the Latino side of it, I think it's beautiful. It's good that you're able to celebrate both sides because, again, we all have our prejudices or our preconceived notions as to who people are. As black folk, we know that. We live it every day. But it's a balancing act. I think sometimes for people, it's something that they don't talk about in the community. But it is what it is. Now, Cole Tyke said it was good, but the continuation may be predictable. Well, it possibly. I will say this: they don't really have to they don't have to try hard with this third movie. It's almost like you just got to manage the ship, land the plane. How we gonna land this plane? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Don't leave no stone unturned unless you're planning to continue this thing. But I was listening to Nerd Soul recently. They were talking about the movie, and one of the things he says, what would it be like if this next movie is just as good as this one? How ironic it would be that this is probably be the best Spider-Man trilogy of all the trilogies that have been done. That's a real possibility. Shout out to Tobey Maguire and shout out to all those other Spider-Man. But this might be the trilogy, the best trilogy. Behind the scenes says this movie proves Static needs a movie or cartoon to push for the mainstream. You know, I want Static to have that mainstream success, but at the same time, I'm not bugging me personally. I'm not bugging because, you know, I feel like Static is, you know, cult following, underground, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's my, you know, for his Milestone, he's my guy. You know what I'm saying? I said it, I don't know if everybody was around earlier. Dion, I said, I don't know if you got here late or whatever, but I said I was not going to call Miles Morales Static Jr. no more out of respect of what this movie did. I'm not going to do it no more. I'm going to be respectful of Miles Morales. But I mean, it was a dope movie. I enjoyed it. I saw it twice, and looking forward to the next one. With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to transition to our next segment. You know, we're gonna talk a little Milestone, and we'll dig into some Rich recommends as well. But my man Derek is going to take us to commercial. The commercial's only going to be about a minute, so might want to, you know, get your refill. We'll be right back. See you in a minute.
The Nam, written by Don Lomax and drawn by Mike Harris, tells the story of a Vietnam vet visiting his brother's gravesite. When we lose our loved ones and visit their graves, we are able to maintain a connection to our buried loved ones. We may place flowers at their grave, we may just sit and reminisce, or like in the case of Rob Little, share a war story. The story is about Rob and a fellow soldier chaperoning a paymaster to see soldiers to ensure that they are compensated. There are many twists and unexpected turns in the supposedly rest and relaxation assignment. There are serious, funny, and surreal situations that make for a very good story. And while military comics may not be everyone's cup of tea, this story is relatable. It's a story about family, duty, and loss. So check it out. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, peace.
All right. Shout out to my man Derek for producing. Rich recommends. Y'all go check out that Nam comic. It's pretty dope. So as we transition to our next segment, we're going to talk about a book that came out a couple of weeks ago, and that is the Milestone new talent book. You know what I'm saying? Milestone Initiative, which is supported by New Talent Showcase. There it is. The Milestone Initiative, which is supported by DC and Ally, created a initiative where they wanted to recruit some new talent into their ranks to work on Milestone stories. And Real Proto Mike says, thank you for the show. Yeah. So this is a pretty thick book, almost 100 pages. I got it if I had to gather them, maybe 80 pages. It's a real thick book. But what they wanted to do is they want to introduce some new talent to the comic book community. And I think that's pretty dope. And this book was filled with like 12 stories, 12 mini stories of various Milestone characters. And, you know, I wanted to just highlight a few of them that I enjoyed. I enjoyed every story. Let me just say that. Let me just go on record and say I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed every story, but there were a few that stood out to me. And so I got 5. I'm going to just briefly talk about. Not going to give it away because I want you to go get this book. I want you to go out and support this book. Let me tell you something. This book, for those many stories, that much art, that much content, almost probably between 80 to 100 pages, the book is only $3.99. $3.99. Okay? They could have upcharged this book. This book could have easily been $7.99, $8.99, $9.99. Okay? They easily could have did that. But they did a Milestone thing. For those of you that remember Milestone from back in the day, remember the Milestone 99-cent books? Milestone was the only company at the time that was putting out 99-cent comic books. They sold a lot of those books too. So I think that the thought was, you know what? We want people to check out this talent. We're going to make this a reasonable price, you know. And I mean, you get good value for, you know, your money. That's what I'll say. You'll get good value for it. So looking at this particular thing, I want to apologize for the slides in advance because we couldn't get regular slides. But the first book, the first story, I should say, is called Third Wheel. And it's written by Ashley Allen and drawn by Yasmin Flores Montes, who we interviewed here on our channel. And this is a Static and Rocket team-up book. And it just basically, this story, it just shows how the importance of what teamwork is and recognizing when you need to regroup or when you're not ready. And in the story, without giving it away, they kind of get their revelation. And they regroup and they win the day, but, you know, they had to look at themselves and they had to, like, you know, okay, let's refocus. And I like Static and Rocket in books. They have a chemistry, and I think that we should see more of that. I don't know if that's Milestone's thought. You know, they're writing the story like, you know, Miles got a real big crush on Rocket. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if they're going to ever let them go there like that. But I think it would be kind of cool. You know, I'm a proponent for Black love. And 2 young people in love, I ain't mad at it. So yeah, so that's one story. Another story would be Blood in the Water, which is the second story in the book. And this is written by Sherilyn Eaton and drawn by Agatun Olhan. And this is about Blood Syndicate's Aqua Maria. I like this story because Aqua Maria is a mysterious character. There's not a whole lot of content about her, and so this is a story where she's featured by herself and she's you know, doing her thing. It's a beautiful story, and she's saving a group of women and children from trafficking on a ship. Yeah, dope stories. Another story is called Abolition, and Abolition is written by Greg Burnham and drawn by Marcus Smith. Now, for those who don't know, Greg Burnham is a writer with Marcus Williams. They worked together on a book called Tuskegee Heirs. Just so you know, shout out to Greg Burnham. He's a part of Blurred Core, and he pops in, I think, here sometimes as well. But yeah, shout out to that guy doing this thing. And this is a Rocket icon story. Pericles says, weren't they toying with Static and Rocket as a couple back in the day? No, not really. They worked together, but it was more of that Virgil back then was very geeky. He's not cool like this iteration of Static. They may have wanted to do something like that, but no, they wouldn't go there with that. You know, don't get it twisted. Virgil was getting it in. Shout out to Static number 25, but you know, he was a little geeky, and she was more mature back in the day because she was a teenage mother as well. Sierra says, I love it, and I was shocked at the price. Yes. So, but this story here is an Icon and Rocket story, and Icon is basically telling her a story about, you know, kind of a woman that he dealt with back in the day. They first met in Virginia, and then they went down to New Orleans, and they lived there for a while. And, you know, Augustus doesn't age. And so she aged, and they wind up, you know, breaking up over it, because she kind of like felt that she was kind of holding him back, so to speak. But, you know, he basically comes back to her at a later point and saves her. And so it's a very, very great story that he's sharing with Rocket. So that's a good one. And that's, you know, the next story is called Family Values. And this is written by Jordan Clark and drawn by Miguel Hernandez. And this is a static story where basically we get to see Virgil as a young kid. Actually, when Virgil is born, and then has, you know, growing up and dealing with certain situations, and then him becoming static. If you look at those panels there, you see him sitting on the couch talking to his mom and dad. They're giving him the talk about how to deal with law enforcement. And those the last two panels at the bottom of it, you know, he's static now, but they're still giving him the talk. And it's just an amazing story about family. And yeah, so it's a dope story, man. You should check that out too. This is a dope book, guys. I mean, you know, and this last story I'm gonna share with y'all, My Brother's Keeper, is written by Dorado Quick and drawn by Charles Stewart III. And this book is about a villain. This is about Ebon. Ebon is a static villain, and he's actually wrecking shop in the new static run right now. But you know, Ebon is a likable character. He's almost anti-hero in this particular book, in this story, I should say. But he's basically on a mission to find his brother. And on his mission to try to find his brother, he has an opportunity to help some other brothers out. And so he kind of resists doing it, but then he winds up, you know, kind of doing it, so to speak. And it's just a good story. I hope they take that story somewhere else, and you know, because it kind of ends with him, you know, still on the hunt. And again, this is a Milestone villain. So even Milestone villains, there were no stories in here about you know, no one did a story on Holocaust. I wish they would have did some Holocaust books, or Holocaust stories, but we didn't get that either. So Frustrated says the new static run has been great. Absolutely, absolutely. Shout out to them. Shout out to the writing team and the drawing team on that book. It's been phenomenal. So yo, go get that book, man. That book is it's still in the shelf. It's not like it's falling off the shelf. They ordered a lot of copies. I know the two shops I've been to, they had plenty on the shelf. But $3.99, and I think that's the other thing too. A lot of people don't know that book is as cheap as it is. You know what I'm saying? You look at it, you know, you kind of grab it, like, man, that look like that might be $10. Because that's, you know, DC. DC will you pay it. Well, I can't say that. You gonna pay extra. Not extra. You gonna pay extra when it comes to DC. You know, it is what it is. But shout out to Milestone and DC Comics for giving us this amazing book with these dope stories. And we can't get enough of Milestone, man. So this is just a treat. You know what I'm saying? If you're not really a Milestone person, I would just suggest that you pick it up, give it a try. I think you'll enjoy all the stories. There's Blood Syndicate stories in the book, and there's hardware stories. I didn't, you know, the hardware stories. Some of them were okay. You know what I'm saying? But the 5 stories that I named, they kind of stood out to me that I would like. You know, you may like them all. You know. And I do like them all, but I can't talk about all of them because our time will be spent. So yeah, that's what's up. Shout out to Milestone, man, for continuing to do their thing. And shout out to all of those who were part of the Milestone Initiative. You know, they brought in some new talent, and some of these guys are working on other books. Some of them are working on Cyborg. Some of them, you've seen their work already. So yeah, you know, and go to our YouTube channel and check out some of the past interviews. We've interviewed some of these guys and talked about their art and their journey in the Milestone Initiative. So yeah, that's what's up. Again, while you're here, please like the video. You know, just hit the subscribe, you know, but please, let's get the likes up, okay? with that, we're going to transition to our final segment, and that is Rich Recommends. This is a part of the show where I give a recommendation. And this week's recommendation, for as the comic book is concerned, is a new book. I generally do not do Rich Recommends on new books, but I thought this was an exception. I think this is a dope book. Catfight. Catfight is pretty cool. It's about some, cat burglars. It's some cat burglars. It's about some cat burglars. The story is written by Andrew Willer and the artist by Elias Karizis. I might be murking his name, but the ink is by Augusta. And this is a story about I thought I was the only one reading this book. No, sir. But yeah, this is a book about cat burglars, about a family of cat burglars. And they have done some things over the course of time, I would say, doing what they do. It's a fun read. I think you'll enjoy it. And I don't want to give anything away, but this is just the first issue. But it looks like it's going to be an amazing book. And it has, black folk in it, y'all. So how you love that? You can't, again, it's about cat burglars, and it's just a different story. It's not capes and cows, if that's your thing, shout out to you. But if you're looking for just a dope story to read, I think you'll enjoy Catfight. So go pick that up. Issue 1 is the only one that's been out, but it's an IDW title. So wherever your independent books are sold, you can pick this up. So yeah, that's Catfight. Now, this next book, I wanted to just recommend a trade for strictly fun. Just a fun, nerdy trade. This book here is called Subculture, the trade paperback. And one of the reasons why I chose this particular book was because here in Fort Worth, they just had the Dallas Con, the biggest one, Dallas Fanboys Con. It's the biggest comic book con in the city, or in the area, I should say. And in reading this book, right, a lot of the things that go on in our fandom, they talk about in this book. It's a very hilarious, fun story. And it's basically a story about nerds and what they do when they go to cons, what they do when they play games, what they do when they watch, anime, what they do when they meet girls, all kind of hilarious. This is just a fun read. It's by Kevin Freeman and Stan Yan. It's just a fun read, guys. It's nothing dope or deep about this book. It's just a comic book, basically a nerd's guide to being a nerd. The funny thing is, the black character that's in this book, he's kind of the glue of the whole crew. They all congregate at a comic book shop and they play, Dungeons and Dragons. They play video games. I mean, it's got every nerd stereotype you can imagine. It's in this book. So you should go pick this up. Again, there's an omnibus. So it's like 3 or 4 volumes of this book. But this first book is like the first 4 or 5 issues of the book. And again, it's silly comic book nerd humor. So I didn't want to do anything heavy this week. We'll get back to heaviness next week. With that said, I'm going to, for a few minutes, we're going to turn it over to the chat. So what are you guys reading? What are you guys thinking? What's on your mind? What you want to talk about? Do you have any questions, any thoughts about, books that you read this week or anything? There was a lot of good stuff that came out. I did read Steelworks, read, all my Spawn stuff, of course. But I do want to bring up one book that I've read this week, actually a couple books. This book has been around since this character's been around since 2014. But the floppies for this book, because everything from up to this point was on Kickstarter. This book here is called Here Comes Calico by Sigma Comics. It is literally Nighthawk. If Nighthawk, Kyle Richmond, Nighthawk, that 6-issue mini, that 6-issue mini that David Walker wrote, it's literally if Nighthawk was an animal lover. This dude is just as brutal. He is just as brutal. But it's a good read. It's a good read. So the first 2 issues came out. And again, it's been around since 2014. There's a trade even for it. But I picked up the first couple of issues of it. I'm gonna try to hunt down the rest of them. But yeah, so you know, and like I said, I've read some other stuff too. The new Deep Cuts book. What do you think about that Steel book? I liked it. I think it's cool as the first issue. You know, that's the tricky thing about first issues is they want to do just enough to get you interested in a second book, right? But they really can't give you a whole lot because they're, you know, if they're good, if the writer's good, he's got to build the world around you. And so they're kind of doing that with John Henry Irons, who was the CEO of this company, Steelworks, and he's trying to basically almost replace the supers. So, you know, I think when the next issue comes out and he has to deal with the super family, there may be a little static there. You know what I'm saying? He's not necessarily trying to replace them, but it may come off that way. And I'll be honest, I'm hoping it doesn't go in the wake of, say, Iron Man, because it's giving me Iron Man vibes. We'll see. we'll see. But I enjoyed it. It was cool. It was solid. Was it the best? No. But again, it's the first issue. You know what I'm saying? And I'm guessing it's like 6 issues or whatever. So we'll see where the where it goes. So do you like what they're doing with Icon versus Hardware series and the incredible characters that are appearing in the series? Absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. That book does not come out fast enough. I have to be honest. Part of my frustration with Milestone has been this 2.0 iteration. The timing of these books coming out. Back in the day, them books was like this. They were like hotcakes. You got those books quick. There was always something to go to the comic book shop to get when Milestone was doing that thing initially. It's not like that now. You know what I'm saying? We're getting these books every 3-4 weeks now. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's not the same. I get it. But I just wish that these books came out with a rapid pace. I'm enjoying the Icon versus Hardware book. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's a dope story. It's pretty fire, to be honest with you. Definitely an improvement than the last season 1 of Hardware. That was a struggle. I was on the struggle bus with that one. I felt like it could have been so much better. It started off amazing, and then it just kind of went somewhere and it never left. I just never enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm definitely enjoying Icon versus Hardware. Absolutely. So yeah. What else we got? So I got the second book of Deep Cuts. It was kind of but I did enjoy issue 1. Yeah, that's the thing, Sierra. All of these books are going to be different. So, you know, I was kind of the same way. But it was kind of like, yeah, man, how you going to start off the gate with this fire and then you give us this? I'm like, okay, these are different stories from different perspectives and that kind of thing. Okay, we'll rock with it, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to get issue number 3, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I love music, I love jazz, and so I got to get it or whatever. But, you know, I have not heard no one talk about this book. I wonder why that is. Somebody tell me why nobody's talking about the new Storm book. I have thoughts, but I'm just wondering, no one's really talking about it. This is Storm, the Hadari Yao. This is Storm, the Wind Rider. Why is nobody talking about her book? I have not seen nobody post her book in our space. I think I may have seen like 1 or 2 variants the week that it came out, but other than that, nothing. And here's the thing. I'll be honest. The writing in this book, it's okay, but I had to read it twice. And I had to read it twice not because I enjoyed it. I had to read it twice because I didn't want to make sure I wasn't tripping. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how it is. Sometimes you'll get a book and you'll start it and be like, man, really? Okay. I put it down, went back to it. Anybody, any thoughts on Storm? Yeah. Yep. So, you know, is anybody reading Exile? Wesley Snipes. Anybody reading that? It's pretty good. Pretty good. Wesley's a dope reader, a dope writer. Wesley had a book called Talent of God. It was a kind of like a science fiction meets Blade type book. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Especially if it says, in the words of Dave Chappelle, we are supporting it with us. Ouch. Woo. Bruh, I could talk for days about that. I really could. I'm not gonna get frustrated. I'm not going down that hole. I kind of want to go there, but I'm not doing that tonight. I'm not doing that tonight. We got to kind of get out of here a little early tonight. So, man, we'll be here for another half hour. He says Exile is better than it should be. I mean, it's cool. I'm gonna be honest. I'm enjoying that we have other things than Marvel and DC. I'm really enjoying that aspect, that there are creatives that are actually doing some things outside of the big two. Because I like Marvel, I love DC. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a DC guy. But when I can get some stuff outside of the big two and I can enjoy it and consume it, like Philadelphia's my favorite comic book. I'm going to be starving for a while because it doesn't come back till October. Shout out to Randy Barnes. But yeah, I'm just enjoying that. Nasir said, I read Talent of God. I liked it. I thought he was going to come out with part 2. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. Thank God. We're probably the only 2 people in Seattle that read that book. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. So I tried to put some people up on it, but it's like, some people don't. I mean, some people do better with pictures. I'm a reader, period. So I can read, fiction in this medium or in the regular, just pick up a book and let my imagination run wild. So yeah. So all the independents are doing some great stuff. Yeah, man, it's good. It's cool. It's cool. I'll tell you another thing that I'm enjoying. It's not a black book, but it is black, white, and red book, and that is Darth Vader. Man, look, Darth Vader is that dude. Y'all can go out. I gotta. Before I get out of here, I got a question. In a fight, no preparation. Darth Vader or Dr. Doom? That's random. Darth Vader or Dr. Doom? Which one? Who y'all got? Who you put your money on? Darth Vader or Dr. Doom? Speaking of Star Wars, I hope you guys are reading this. Santa Starros. Great story. Real great story. Yeah. As a Storm lover, issue 1 was dull and it hurt me to my soul. Sierra, I told you, I had to read it twice. I had to read it twice to make sure I wasn't tripping. that, you know, because I'm like, because there are times when I read a comic book and I'll fly through it. And then there are times it's like, okay, I didn't really enjoy that. Let me, you know, and it was real random how I read it a second time because I was getting ready to go to bed and I didn't want to read. I'm actually reading a book. I'm reading a Huey P. Newton's book, Revolutionary Suicide. I'm reading that. That's the book I read when I go to bed at night. But I tend to read a comic book and then I get into that. So I just like, well, let me just pick it up again. And then that's how I read it the second time. And it just didn't like. Now, H&N says Rich had to make sure he didn't skip a page or two. Well, I mean, you know, again, I, see, it's hard for me to like, okay, if I read a comic book and it's just not good, I'm like, I ask myself the question, should I talk about it? I don't want to badmouth it, but at the same time, I don't want it to be just me. You know what I'm saying? Because it could be one of those things where somebody else might think the book is fire. Like I said, no one's talking about that book. Nobody. And again, this is Storm. We a lot of us in the comic book community complain that Storm don't get her shine or she don't get her run. Frustrated said Vader all the way. I know that's right. Dominique say Vader. Yeah, I'm with that too. Vader with Edge, dude. Yeah, yeah. Vader ain't no joke, man. That dude there, bro. It's so funny too because Christian Haydenson, you know, he was here for the con this weekend. And I mean, you know, the line that dude had, people complained about how long it took. Some people waited like 3-4 hours to get a picture with that dude. And you know, I didn't go to the con for two reasons. One, they were wanting like for I wasn't gonna go for all 3 days like some people do. The cost to actually get in the con was like for like a Saturday was like $53. That ain't even that's not even talking about your parking. Okay. Then, you know, you're gonna want to go get some stuff while you're there. And if you're gonna go stand in line, and this is kind of sad too, because the guy, Shamik Moore, I think the guy that does the voice for Miles Morales, he was here too this weekend. And they kind of, I won't say they drug him online, but there were people saying that his prices, he doubled his prices for signatures and stuff. It is what it is. But I did hear good things about Rosario Dawson. You know, Rosario Dawson is going to play Ahsoka, and you know, but everybody she got glowing reports of how friendly she was and how cool she was when they went to see her. But Charlie Cox was here. It was a lot of dope people that was here, man. You know, and I can't say I missed out because you know what I did? A lot of the shops here in town, they had sales and the shops were empty. So I had to kind of the shop, me and a few other people kind of had the shops to ourselves this weekend, because, you know, everybody was at the cons. So, you know, I wasn't really trying to just stand in the line like that. Then the biggest complaint was the smell. Somebody came up with the ideas like, you know what, we're just gonna stand at the front of the gate and just pass out deodorant. They're just gonna pass, and of course here in Dallas and Fort Worth, it's hot. I mean, it's like mid 90s here now. So you're talking probably, you know, 70, 80,000 people, half of them musty. It's not cool enough, that many people, that many bodies in the big old convention center. It was probably crazy. It probably was crazy. So yeah. But look, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, guys. You know, I wanted to kind of do a show tonight. I'm not sure we're gonna be doing a show next week, but while I'm here, I want you guys to check out our content on our YouTube page. And also, if you're going to, well, here we go. So we have our recurring lives, Wakanda Whiskey and Blurtum. You got your boy Real Talk with Rich, and the ladies do their lives. They got a show coming up pretty soon, and I think it's going to be a free for all, from what I understand. But I want to highlight for you guys the Ken Quattro interview. The Ken Quattro interview was our most recent interview that we did. We talked to Ken Quattro, who is a comic book historian. This guy is basically a walking encyclopedia. And we talked a lot about creatives from the 1940s. Matt Baker being one of those gentlemen. And it was a fun interview. The interview's about maybe right over an hour. I think you will enjoy it. Also, we talked to cats like Evan Narcisse and Charles Stewart, And of course, you talk about independent guys, it gets no more independent than Tony Kittrell and Lonzo Starr over at Concrete Comics. So yeah, we got a lot. He said we do expect to have Ken Quattro back again. So yes, we're gonna be doing our thing with him. So stay tuned for that. But check out some of our content, check out our Rich Recommends, check out all our stuff. And whether it's John Jennings, John Jennings is due to come back up to see us at some point as well. Ghostlight number 5 is getting ready to drop, and we'll be talking to him pretty soon, I'm sure. And Eve Ewing, Dr. Eve Ewing, who's getting ready to release the first Black Panther #1 next month. Y'all stay tuned. Well, not next month, this month. I'm tripping. Matter of fact, next week, I think. So yeah, man, y'all please say a prayer for Dr. Ewing, that book is good. because the cult of bias and everybody Black Panther fan, they get a little ignorant behind T'Challa. But anyway, also, please support your favorite comic book series by pre-ordering your comics before the final order cutoff date. We want our creatives that are in this business to be supported. And the way you do that is through pre-order. When you go to a shop to buy a comic book, that sale that you get does not go towards the artist or the creatives standing in regards to that book continuing. A lot of books get shuttered or canceled because there's no interest for them. Comic book shops have to eat the price of books. If they put a bunch of books in their store and nobody comes to get them, they have to eat that price. So what a lot of shops will do is if they get a book, say like that cat fight, they may only order maybe 4 or 5 books and hope that people just walk up and order it and buy it, because they have no incentive to carry it if they don't have guaranteed sales for it. It is what it is. And Sierra makes a point. She says Monarch #5 next week too, I believe. Yes. Shout out to Rodney Barnes. He is doing Monarch as well. That guy is amazing. That's my guy. So yeah, please support. Get a subscribe list. Get a pull list. You can go online. You can go to Things of Another World. Go to blackcomiclords.net. There is a link for Things of Another World there. You can order your comic books through there. We get a little kickback for going through our page, and you get your comic books guaranteed in the shop. I know a lot of y'all like these wonderful variants and wonder how is it possible that you are able to get these variants when these variants going for all kind of bread on eBay. Get you a pull list and pre-order it. You can get it at face price, $3.99. Who wants to pay $39.99 when you can get the book for $3.99? It's just a matter of you doing what you're supposed to do, which is pre-order your books. Like that Icon versus Hardware right there. That Green Lantern 87 tribute. That's going for a lot of dope. And that's not part of my ministry, so I don't have that book. And, I don't anticipate finding that book in a while either, but we can hope and pray, right? So shout out to them. So anyway, it's your boy Rich, man. Let me get out of here. I got one thing left to do, and that is to give you the benediction. Proverbs, the 4th chapter, verse 23, it says this: guard your heart, for above all else, it is the source of life. From the stronghold that is Black Comic Lords and Black Superheroes Forever, it is your boy Rich. We bid you a peace. We'll see you next time. Enjoy your week. Take care of yourselves and each other. We out.